My name's Toby Thompson. I'm here today with Professor Richard Wilding, lead supervisor for Gabriela Alvarez's DBA. Richard, you were instrumental in pushing her through the pain that she talked about in that session we did with her previously. Tell me more about the experience that you had with Gabriela over those 4 years.
Okay, well, when I met Gabriela, I mean, she turned up with a very broad area. I mean, she was very passionate about sustainability and working with third world nations and small companies within those particular nations. And I'm a professor of supply chain management, and one of the interesting things was that there's a lot of work being done on supply chain sustainability. So when we were talking to her about her research interests, I suddenly realised there was actually a direct linkage between her interest in enabling small organisations to relate to larger organisations. In other words, you know, it could be a small farmer being able to sell into UK retailer. That was her passion.
So she didn't come with a supply chain focus. You were able to kind of push her in that direction?
No, we were able to see that there was some very strong linkages and some groundings in, if you like, research, which had already taken place to some degree within the supply chain area. So what I was able to do is to point her at that particular literature and some of the issues in that particular area. But it has to be said that supply chain management, body of knowledge was not the only body of knowledge which related to this area. So in the early stages of the DBA, the tricky part is, of course, is being able to actually read around and seeing what the body of knowledge, as we call it, is. This is the total amount of knowledge which is generated in this area. Because what you have to do as part of a DBA is to then extend the body of knowledge. You've got to create new knowledge, and that's really the big challenge.
So to a degree, she must have gone beyond your own knowledge.
Very much so. I mean, as part of the process, you know, in the first year or so, you're able to very much point a student, as it were, at these are the body of knowledges you need to look at. But as you progress, it gets to a point where if they're going to get the doctorate, they have to be beyond you in terms of your knowledge.
Say more about the panel process, because she mentioned that Hugh Wilson and Colin Pilgrim were on that panel. What's the purpose of the panel?
Well, really picking up on that thing of getting beyond the lead supervisor's body of knowledge, what you need is a team around you. So effectively the panel is a team of senior academics and specialists who can actually support the student on other areas. So for example, part of her DBA was looking at network analysis. So this is something which has been applied in other areas quite extensively, but within the supply chain area it's had limited application. Colin, he was an expert in that particular area, so he was able to bring in and guide Gabriela in that area. Hugh as well had expertise in various areas in terms of some of the relationship marketing, for example, which also talks about relationships and linking to companies. So he was able to bring in his expertise to work into that area there as well. So by having this panel, what you're doing is having 3 experts who are able to sort of advise the student and help the student in structuring their thoughts and presenting this extension of the body of knowledge, as it were.
So if someone watching this may be thinking, oh, I want to do a DBA, I guess the message will be expect to be challenged on what you bring to the DBA process?
Very much so. The DBA is something that you have to take ownership of. You can't expect your supervisors to do this for you, and that's why it's such a hard it's such a hard exercise. It's akin to climbing a mountain, climbing a big mountain. It's quite painful as you're going up, and I suppose the supervisors, you could say, are a bit like the Sherpas. You know, they're carrying elements of kit up the mountain for you, but you're the person who has to sort of be out in the lead and to actually get to the top of the mountain. And I think it's fair to say with most people who've gone through the process, you get to the top of the mountain and you go, never again, you know, never again. But then within a few months you go, actually that was a really great experience. I want to go through that again. And, you get into this research habit. And Gabriela at the moment, although she's graduated and everything else, she's now actually working with us on further publications and, if you like, harvesting elements from her doctoral research, because now she's saying, well, actually, I can actually really contribute, not just to practitioner journals, which is a key thing. So, we've already done publications which are in practitioner journals, but also she's contributing in the the area of the academic knowledge. So, you know, getting publications out into academic journals, which is a very important part of this.
So be warned, you might like the view from the top of the mountain when you get there.
That's the problem. You know, once you've done it once, you can start developing a very nasty research habit, which then takes you further and further into other areas of research. And I think that's what's exciting about this. And for people who are working in industry, it gives them such a skill set. Often what we have to think about is something called evidence-based management. A lot of decisions made in business are probably couched in some, you know, quite flimsy evidence. And when you have that skill set of going through the DBA, you're able to make very insightful evidence-based decisions, which then are able to take organisations much further than originally they would have gone.
Professor Richard Wilding, thank you very much indeed for your time.
No problem.